Newfoundland Labrador and those watching abroad. This is Ernest and welcome to the first video edition of In the Trenches. I'm going to start off by saying that our first topic of our first video edition of In the Trenches is going to be quite a controversial one. It's something that whenever it's brought up brings up mixed feelings, anger, fear, rage, your riotous behavior. It's not Donald Trump, by the way, don't worry. We're not going to bring him up. We have enough issues in this province without adding on to it. I'm talking about the budget. And the budget is fast approaching. It comes off in April. And right now it is February. And with February, that means it's pre-budget consultation time. And you see, this is a really important time. You see, it's a time when our MHAs gather us all into a room and they sit down with every one of us and they say, what can we do to make our fiscal future better, stronger? And you tell them. You lay out your carefully thought out opinions on it to the MHA. And he or she dutifully nods and agrees and smiles and says, my goodness, that's wonderful. Why haven't we thought of that? Write that down as he points, or he or she, I should say, points to their assistant, and their assistant dutifully writes it all down. And when they do, you walk away smiling and thinking, I made a difference. I let my voice be heard. It feels great. And your MHA smiles as well, because they say, you know what? I listened to my constituents. I've got what they want me to bring to St. John's written down. So they get on the plane or get in their car, head on out to St. John's, and they go up to the Department of Finance. With a big smile on their face, they walk in through those doors and say, here you go. This is what my constituents want to see in the upcoming budget. And that fine bureaucrat in the Ministry of Finance says, thank you very much, sir. You have a wonderful day. And he watches, or he or she, of course, watches as the MHA walks out that door, and they're smiling, and everything is happy, everything is wonderful. And they look at your opinions and your thoughts on the budget, and they chuckle softly to themselves. Why haven't we thought of all of this? And then, softly, gently, they roll it up into a ball and toss it in the trash. Because you see, the budget's already probably done. Your opinions, they're not going to listen to. You see, and I really do hate to tell you this, honestly, is that pre-budget consultations, just like all other government consultations, are honestly about as meaningful as voting in Zimbabwe. You can give your opinion, but it's really not going to be used in much decision making unless it's almost election time. You see, I'm not doing this to demean or dismiss you or destroy your belief in democracy. I'm merely telling you how it is, you see. The bureaucrats make the decisions. The bureaucrats give the suggestions to the ministers on what to do. This is how it is. This is how it's always been. From Premier Little in 1855 all the way up to Dwight Ball. The ministers are told and given the suggestions by the bureaucrats. And you see, the reason for that is that cabinet ministers are not perfect. They're not always experts in the portfolios that they're assigned. And that's why they go to their deputy ministers, their assistant deputy ministers, their managers, supervisors, superintendents, all those people. And they say, help me. By God, they do. As we have seen in this wonderful and near utopian society that we have here in Newfoundland and Labrador, where everything is working out for the better. I honestly, no, I can't even say that. We all know that's absolute bollocks. It's pretty bad lately. The roads are terrible. The ferries are always delayed. They're also getting more expensive. And the economy is slowly and surely slipping down the drain. But you see, while the politicians come and go, the bureaucrats always remain. For they are the power behind the throne, the Ancien regime, the true boogeyman. And you can't get rid of them so easily as a politician. The reason is, you let them go, we give them a severance. Look at Ed Martin. Sure, they're not going to get a couple $1 million in severance, but by God, they're going to get a fair amount. Probably more than some of us see in a year. And the people who advise our cabinet ministers and our politicians are people who have been in there for, 20, 30 odd years. They've got their credentials built up. And generally, they only have a bachelor's degree. I was honestly stunned when I found that out. A lot of deputy ministers, they have bachelors. Except, justice and the health departments. Probably the education as well, but most other departments, you just need a bachelor's. Something that honestly scares the crap out of me. It's pretty terrifying when I think about that. That running a province is done by someone with, and no offense to anyone with a university education, a bachelor's degree. It's nothing against you. I just really think that to run a province, you should at least have a master's. In terms of, bureaucratic workings. That's what I think. If you dispute this, please comment, let me know. I'd love to have a discussion, but I'm going to get back into this, so I digress. These career bureaucrats who are very, very difficult to replace. See, for years and years and years, for each successive government, they shine the light of their incompetence upon them. They give our elected officials very, very sound advice. The wonderful advice that brought us the two new roll-on, roll-off areas, the Legionnaire and the Veteran. The $6 million plan to refit the almost half a century-old Sound of Ely, and the equally brilliant 90% resettlement rule. There's a lot of geniuses plot about the Confederation building, blundering as they go without any serious repercussions whenever they make a mistake, except, possibly a transfer to another department so they can wipe that slate clean and continue playing Farmville and counting down the days to retirement. It's quite a mess, and we're not getting of it anytime soon. Now, you're probably wondering to yourselves, this is terrible. How can we fix this? What can we do? How do we make democracy work again? Well, I don't really have the answer to that. I can only offer you a suggestion, and this is just my personal suggestion. You can do it as you please. I want to see the upper levels of the bureaucracy, the assistant deputy ministers, the deputy ministers, just as fluid as the cabinet ministers that they work with. I want to see that, say, for example, this government loses the next election, all those ministers, deputy ministers, and assistant deputy ministers, they all go goodbye. Simple as that. No severance packages, no transfers to other departments, nothing. They want their job back, they can reapply. Or, you see, what they can also do, pick up their pink slip and ask for directions to the nearest Service Canada office so they can apply for EI. I believe, honestly, that's what's going to get them off their arses and start earning their pay and ensuring that the people that need to be helped really get the help. That the roads work gets done. That the issues with the budget are resolved. That our healthcare system is reformed and repaired. It's in desperate need of it, by the way. And it ensures that the bureaucrats are really accountable. Something that we need, you see, when you don't have your arse to the fire. What's the rush? Now, I realize that this is not completely about the budget, I know, but you see, I believe that they are honestly intertwined. So that's why I'm going into this discussion about it. Now, you see, we need change. Newfoundland and Labrador has never been good with finance. We've frankly been pretty bad at it. I don't know why. I wish I knew. I think, honestly, this is something that someone at Memorial University needs to do a study about. Why the hell Newfoundland and Labrador has always been god-awful with money. And it's something that they need to roll out fast so that we can learn from our mistakes and correct them. Because, by God, we really need it. Especially with $1.5 billion in a hole. Something that, honestly, It hurts my head to even think about it. And I don't envy any of our politicians right now, to deal with a couple $billion headache like that. And it is a headache, especially with an aging and declining population that we have, and a place that does not exactly have the highest incomes. So, with this, I want to leave you with those thoughts. What can we do to really get things working, to really make our fiscal future something bright? How can we really make the bureaucrats who really create the decisions and form them and bring them up to the ministers, how do we make them more accountable and make them really earn their pay? I want to hear these things. I want to know these things. So if you're an MHA, let me know. Get in touch with me. If you're just a regular person like me, comment, like, share. Let's get this conversation started, because this is a very valid point, and this is something we need to bring up. So with that, my friends, I'm going to call it a night. It's almost 2 o'clock in the morning. I've spent quite a lot of time working on this, so I'm rather tired. So with that, I'm going to say God bless all of you, and God guard thee, Newfoundland and Labrador. This is Ernest Snooks signing off. Good night.